Do you let fear work for you or against you? So, welcome back to This Life Reconsidered. And my name is Janina. So, I'm going to be a little honest. The last couple of months, it has been so hard for me to hit the record button. Part of it's because I've used kind of like my day life and my offline life kind of drive my thinking, and I've used it as kind of a crutch for not being able to come back and kind of commit and getting into this creating content, which, to be honest, is kind of what drives me. But I think there's something to be said about, trying to kind of create your own barriers. And it's actually that process, that hesitation, that doubt, that is actually driving the theme and the content behind this particular video. So, as you know, if you've seen some of the earlier videos, and as a reminder, I'll link a couple of kind of like videos to kind of refresh you. When I started this channel, it was because I was really propelled and inspired by this major life event that I went through. I had a stroke, and even though I've made a full and wonderful recovery, and I didn't want to kind of create a channel to kind of be like the person that was kind of only driven and motivated by this kind of life-altering event, because that's not my jam. In fact, I use that moment in time as kind of like some type of like linchpin and some type of motivator to kind of make sure that I wasn't going to kind of be like paralyzed, or that I wasn't going to be kind of held back by something that has the ability to kind of really hinder the way that you think and the way that you kind of move. Because it's really, like, to be honest, that's a kind of life event that can easily cripple you if you let it. And so for me, the way to kind of get over it was to kind of use that turning point as a way of reframing the way that I embrace the world. And that's still my truth, to be honest. I still use that catalyst as an opportunity to reapproach things with either a more positive outlook, or to reframe the arguments that I used to let kind of get in my way. Yeah. That said, there are a couple of things. I've realized that I was kind of allowing myself to kind of fall back into the one thing that I told myself I wouldn't necessarily do, which is be consumed by the doubt, and also allowing myself to just kind of hide of and as opposed to and creating my own hurdles, as opposed to moving past them. And that's exactly what I was looking to fight when I created this channel. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stop looking for all the hurdles, and I'm gonna stop putting them in my way, and I'm just going to kind of jump right back into this and, kind of aim for just kind of getting it done, and allowing myself to stay really focused to the original vision that I set out to do, which is to kind of look at the glass half full, and in order to create and shape a narrative that allowed me to kind of shape the world that I was living in, and put the spin on it that I wanted. So I sucked it up and said, you know what, dive back in. You had something, and you still have it, and you're still feeling it, and then just kind of go with it, and make sure that the excuse isn't that you didn't create your own hurdles. Okay, so with all of that background provided, that is actually pretty much the theme of this particular video. Okay. So, and let me just kind of add a little bit of a note here. I think the fire has been especially lit in me as I think about all the few years after the stroke. And when I think about the fact that, you know, I've had a lot of really good years, but I have to keep documenting and reminding myself to continue to learn from all of these moments and turning those into teachable moments. And, you know, I think I basically, now as I look at my adulthood and all the things that I've learned, and as I take that road to winding down the end of this latter half of my 30s, my job now is to make sure that I was paying attention to all the lessons that I've gotten. And so this entire video is basically all rooted in one master lesson, which is not allowing myself to be paralyzed by one key issue. And that's the idea of fear. And how do I turn that into fearlessness? So with all that said, here are the couple of very tiny little nuggets that I'm going to tie into the master lesson within this video. And what I would say is one of the most meaningful lessons that I've been getting through my adulthood, and that I'm taking into, you know, this later part of my adulthood now that I'm no longer in my 20s and have learned enough to be wiser. So this lesson in fearlessness, or fear, has been distilled to a couple of key insights, you know, and I wrote everything down to make sure that I stay pretty organized. Some key things to kind of keep in mind when it comes to fear: if, you know, the delay, if everything that I haven't said before hasn't kind of told you that, no matter how much older you get and where you are in your adulthood, fear doesn't go away. You know, as obvious for the fact that, like, I've been living long enough, and I was afraid to turn on the camera for a couple of months because I was letting that fear drive me. Silly and unnecessary. So in order to kind of allow yourself to step away from that, it is really all about kind of turning that moment as an experience to kind of allow you to just kind of propel and get through it. And the way you kind of break it down is that you just kind of really allow it to serve as fuel and motivation. The truth of the matter is, our past experiences contribute to the fear that we fear, but our job is to take the past, the bad, the old, and turn it into motivation, and allow that to kind of be the most empowering and the most propelling thing. You're not going to be able to kind of completely rid yourself of fear, but you can control how it is you manage and navigate it if you want to. So I guess my way of controlling it is just diving in and allowing myself to kind of get comfortable with my fear and own it and embrace that. I don't know. How do you deal with fear? Has it gotten better as you've gotten into adulthood? How do you navigate it? I would love to get your thoughts. This is going to be this is personally one of the most meaningful lessons for me, and I am sure that I will continue to make videos that highlight how I've learned and turned this into teachable moments for myself, and would love to get your thoughts on how that works for you. Look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks.